Chronological Bible in 365 episodes. This is episode 282, containing portions of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Continuing in Matthew 14. At that time, Herod the Tetrarch heard the report about Jesus,
and said to his servants, "This is John the Baptist. He is risen from the dead, and therefore these powers are at work in him."
For Herod had laid hold of John and bound him, and put him in prison for the sake of Herodias, his brother Philip's wife,
because John had said to him, "It is not lawful for you to have her."
And although he wanted to put him to death, he feared the multitude, because they counted him as a prophet.
But when Herod's birthday was celebrated, the daughter of Herodias danced before them and pleased Herod.
Therefore he promised with an oath to give her whatever she might ask.
So she, having been prompted by her mother, said, "Give me John the Baptist's head here on a platter."
And the king was sorry. Nevertheless, because of the oaths and because of those who sat with him, he commanded it to be given to her.
So he sent and had John beheaded in prison.
And his head was brought on a platter and given to the girl, and she brought it to her mother.
Then his disciples came and took away the body and buried it, and went and told Jesus.
When Jesus heard it, he departed from there by boat to a deserted place by himself. But when the multitudes heard it, they followed him on foot from the cities.
And when Jesus went out, he saw a great multitude, and he was moved with compassion for them, and healed their sick.
When it was evening, his disciples came to him, saying, "This is a deserted place, and the hour is already late. Send the multitudes away, that they may go into the villages and buy themselves food."
But Jesus said to them, "They do not need to go away. You give them something to eat."
And they said to him, "We have here only 5 loaves and 2 fish."
He said, "Bring them here to me."
Then he commanded the multitudes to sit down on the grass. And he took the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, and looking up to heaven, he blessed and broke and gave the loaves to the disciples, and the disciples gave to the multitudes.
So they all ate and were filled, and they took up 12 baskets full of the fragments that remained.
Now those who had eaten were about 5,000 men, besides women and children.
Immediately Jesus made his disciples get into the boat and go before him to the other side, while he sent the multitudes away.
And when he had sent the multitudes away, he went up on the mountain by himself to pray. Now when evening came, he was alone there.
But the boat was now in the middle of the sea, tossed by the waves, for the wind was contrary.
Now on the 4th watch of the night, Jesus went to them, walking on the sea.
And when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were troubled, saying, "It is a ghost!" And they cried out for fear.
But immediately Jesus spoke to them, saying, "Be of good cheer, it is I. Do not be afraid."
And Peter answered him and said, "Lord, if it is you, command me to come to you on the water."
So he said, "Come." And when Peter had come down out of the boat, he walked on the water to go to Jesus.
And when he saw that the wind was boisterous, he was afraid. And beginning to sink, he cried out, saying, "Lord, save me!"
And immediately Jesus stretched out his hand and caught him and said to him, "O you of little faith, why did you doubt?"
And when they got into the boat, the wind ceased.
Then those who were in the boat came and worshipped him, saying, "Truly you are the Son of God."
When they had crossed over, they came to the land of Gennesaret.
And when the men of that place recognized him, they sent him into all that surrounding region, brought to him all who were sick,
and begged him that they might only touch the hem of his garment, and as many as touched it were made perfectly well.
Continuing in Mark. Now King Herod heard of him, for his name had become well known, and he said, "John the Baptist is risen from the dead, and therefore these powers are at work in him."
Others said, "It is Elijah," and others said, "It is the prophet," or like one of the prophets.
But when Herod heard, he said, "This is John, whom I beheaded. He has been raised from the dead."
For Herod himself had sent and laid hold of John, and bound him in prison for the sake of Herodias, his brother Philip's wife, for he had married her.
For John had said to Herod, "It is not lawful for you to have your brother's wife."
Therefore Herodias held it against him and wanted to kill him, but she could not.
For Herod feared John, knowing that he was a just and holy man, and he protected him. And when he heard him, he did many things, and heard him gladly.
Then an opportune day came when Herod on his birthday gave a feast for his nobles, the high officers and the chief men of Galilee.
And when Herodias' daughter herself came in and danced, and pleased Herod and those who sat with him, the king said to the girl, "Ask me whatever you want, and I will give it to you."
He also swore to her, "Whatever you ask me, I will give you up to half of my kingdom."
So she went out and said to her mother, "What shall I ask?" And she said, "The head of John the Baptist."
Immediately she came in with haste to the king and asked, saying, "I want you to give me at once the head of John the Baptist on a platter."
And the king was exceedingly sorry, yet because of the oaths and because of those who sat with him, he did not want to refuse her.
Immediately the king sent an executioner and commanded his head to be brought, and he went and beheaded him in prison.
Brought his head on a platter and gave it to the girl, and the girl gave it to her mother.
When his disciples heard of it, they came and took away his corpse and laid it in the tomb.
Then the apostles gathered to Jesus and told him all things, both what they had done and what they had taught.
And he said to them, "Come aside by yourselves to a deserted place and rest a while." For there were many coming and going, and they did not even have time to eat.
So they departed to a deserted place in the boat by themselves.
But the multitude saw them departing, and many knew him and ran there on foot from all the cities. They arrived before them and came together to him.
And Jesus, when he came out, saw a great multitude and was moved with compassion for them, because they were like a sheep not having a shepherd. So he began to teach them many things.
When the day was now far spent, his disciples came to him and said, "This is a deserted place, and already the hour is late.
Send them away, that they may go into the surrounding country and villages and buy themselves bread, for they have nothing to eat."
But he answered and said to them, "You give them something to eat." And they said to him, "Shall we go and buy 200 denarii worth of bread and give them something to eat?"
But he said to them, "How many loaves do you have? Go and see." And when they found out, they said, 5 and 2 fish.
Then he commanded them to make them all sit down in groups on the green grass.
So they sat down in ranks, in hundreds and in 50s.
And when he had taken the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, he looked up to heaven, blessed and broke the loaves, and gave them to his disciples to set before them. And the 2 fish he divided among them.
So they all ate and were filled.
And they took up 12 basketfuls of fragments and of the fish.
Now those who had eaten the loaves were about 5,000 men.
Immediately he made his disciples get into the boat and go before him to the other side, to Bethsaida, while he sent the multitude away.
And when he had sent them away, he departed to the mountain to pray.
Now when evening came, the boat was in the middle of the sea, and he was alone on the land.
And he saw them straining at rowing, for the wind was against them. Now about the 4th watch of the night he came to them walking on the sea, and would have passed by.
And when they saw him walking on the sea, they supposed it was a ghost, and cried out.
For they all saw him and were troubled. But immediately he talked with them, and said to them, "Be of good cheer, it is I, do not be afraid."
Then he went up into the boat to them, and the wind ceased. And they were greatly amazed in themselves beyond measure, and marveled.
For they had not understood about the loaves, because their heart was hardened.
When they had crossed over, they came to the land of Gennesaret, and anchored there.
When they had come out of the boat, immediately the people recognized them,
ran through the whole surrounding region, and began to carry about on beds those who were sick, to wherever they heard he was.
Wherever he entered into villages, cities, or in the country, they laid the sick in the marketplaces, and begged him that they might just touch the hem of his garment, and as many as touched him were made well.
Continue in Luke 9. Now Herod the Tetrarch heard of all that was done by him, and he was perplexed, because it was said by some that John had risen from the dead,
and by some that Elijah had appeared, and by others that one of the old prophets had risen again.
Herod said, John I beheaded, but who is this of whom I hear such things? So he sought to see him.
And the apostles, when they had returned, told him all that they had done. Then he took them and went aside privately into a deserted place belonging to the city called Bethsaida.
But when the multitudes knew it, they followed him. They received them and spoke to them about the kingdom of God. And he healed those who had needed healing.
When the day began to wear away, the 12 came and said to him, Send the multitude away, that they may go into the surrounding towns and country, and lodge and get provisions, for we are in a deserted place here.
But he said to them, You give them something to eat. And they said, We've no more than 5 loaves and 2 fish, unless we go and buy food for all these people.
For there were about 5,000 men. Then he said to his disciples, Make them sit down in groups of 50.
And they did so, and made them all sit down.
Then he took the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, and looking up to heaven, he blessed and broke them, and gave them to the disciples to set before the multitude.
So they all ate and were filled, and 12 baskets of the leftover fragments were taken up by them.
Continuing in John 6. Now when evening came, his disciples went down to the sea,
got into the boat, and went over the sea toward Capernaum. And it was already dark, and Jesus had not come to them.
Then the sea arose because a great wind was blowing.
So when they had rowed about 3 or 4 miles, they saw Jesus walking on the sea, and drawing near the boat, and they were afraid.
But he said to them, It is I, do not be afraid.
Then they willingly received him into the boat, and immediately the boat was at the land where they were going.
You're listening to One Gospel with Heath and Holly. Be sure to like our videos and subscribe.